Fishtown is in an incredibly beautiful natural setting, one that's also very vulnerable to the environment. It's on a short stretch of the Leland River, which was dammed many years ago in the 19th century. So you have the dam, you have the river, it's a confluence with Lake Michigan, and you have on either side of this river, which is really not very wide at this point, lined along the edge, these historic fishing shanties, which were built from the early 1900s to the late 1950s, and then some other buildings that have been built since then. It's a working waterfront of incredible beauty that has long been exposed to the elements of Lake Michigan, where you can have ice shoves, terrific gales and storms, incredibly calm days with just gorgeous, gorgeous colors of the lake. So I think to me it's the combination of the working fishery and the incredible beauty and that location right on Lake Michigan that make the location what it is. We've spoken over the time I've been involved in Fishtown about the Fishtown being the survivor and all the sort of miracles that have occurred. I think, in all honesty, a buyer could have stepped up who might have just wanted to, take down those structures like has happened other places and put up condos and have it all be a nice, pretty yachter's paradise like South Haven is. Fishtown Preservation Society is an organization with the backing of a board and an executive director. And I think the unique thing about it, in terms of its role of the custodian of Fishtown, in terms of its interpretation, its the historic preservation, its preservation into the future. What I think is most unique about Fishtown Preservation Society in terms of this particular discussion and policy is the particular types of expertise that they've brought together to facilitate the stewardship of Fishtown. Doesn't any historic preservation effort have to start with people who care enough, to make sure that a place is preserved and that it's preserved, and then you have to make the decisions about how a place is preserved. I think the question is when and then how does it become a preservation effort, perhaps, and then you've got the place, you've purchased it, like, we're not done, that's just the beginning, and then that's when the saving is only the first step of preservation, and then you have this, the long and important job of, what's next? How do you keep these buildings in working order? What's your philosophy of physically rehabilitating and keeping the properties, from falling into the river, and as some of them almost did in the 1950s? And then how do you tell its story? It's not just about the buildings, it's about the place. And the place has a site. There's a landscape. There's a geographic, physical site that the properties sit on. So it's not just the buildings, it's the whole complex. It's the site, it's the geography, it's the folklore, it's the traditions, it's the stories, it's the storyscape. All of that has to be taken into consideration. And so Fishtown Preservation had to come up with their philosophy for how they were going to preserve the place. So that you didn't pickle Fishtown into a particular, you allowed it to breathe, and that's what a working waterfront is. A historic working waterfront has to be allowed to breathe and to move forward. In a nutshell, how I would say Fishtown Preservation Society has preserved this working waterfront. Okay, I think they have started out with an exceptional leadership to the organization that has combined expertise in historic preservation and folklore. Two very compatible and important partners, but ones that have not been put together in a whole lot of other projects. And again, I think that's one of the policy lessons of the success of Fishtown Preservation Society.